episode of the Painted Arrow podcast. We're on the road right now in a truck, headed westbound on Highway 88, soon to be Highway 80. And if you're from the Midwest, what that really translates to is we're going elk hunting. We're going to First Rifle in the great state of Colorado. And we have some guests on the podcast today. Some I guess they're familiar, but non-everydayers. But first, we got Devin Cole.
Hello.
Hello. In the back seat there, riding
bitch.
Right.
The back seat, bitch.
We got the one and only Big Al Hicks.
Hell yeah.
Give it up for him. That's my brother,
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
Al, say
Somebody's
something.
got to spice this podcast up.
Al's the killer. If you've been on the podcast before, you know that. But
We have a buck, not a buck. We have a deer tail though that Alex is going to share at some point. And then
The guest of honor himself
And
in the front seat.
El Jefe.
El Jefe.
El Jefe, the boss.
Dad, say something.
I am here, just happy to be here.
Yeah. So I think we need to start off here by breaking down like the hunt here just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Kind of how it
Yeah.
came to be, kind of where we're going,
What we're doing.
what we're doing, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, Deb, why don't you break it down from the very beginning? We were at the Pennsylvania Harrisburg trade show last winter.
Yeah, last February.
Start there.
Well, yeah, we were working the trade show, and we had a couple of young boys walk by with some cowboy hats on, and they just came up and started shooting the shit with us. I think they were like 8 and 10, but they were acting like grown men, and they were talking to us, and we were like, Nate goes, "What do y'all boys do?" And they're like, "No, we run an outfit. We're an outfitter." And we started talking to them and asked them where they're from and all that. And anyway, they're from northwestern Colorado, and they grew up in a family where their dad runs an outfitter, and they guide. What all do they guide, Nate? Bear, elk, mule deer,
Yep.
everything. And so anyway, after chatting with these boys, we decided to go down and meet with their dad just to tell him how impressed we were with his young boys. And long story short, we ended up booking a hunt. So we are headed to northwest Colorado for a First Rifle elk hunt. It is not a guided hunt. It's a drop camp hunt. So they have essentially a tent set up for you. And they put you on horseback, and they take you way back into the wilderness area, and they give you some points of interest to maybe go check out, and you go hunt. And you give them a holler when you kill, and they come help you pack the elk out. Is kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So, and we got 2 tags.
That's
myself.
pretty clutch. The horses and helping pack out.
Yeah.
It brings me back to years ago when we went and we were planning on, hey, if we get one, we're just going to take however many trips and just put it on our own backs and walk up and down. And we were unsuccessful, but I was almost kind of happy about it because that would have been a lot.
You know who got to realize that dream?
You guys.
Nate's buddy Chad.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chad.
Yeah. That was a wild story.
But yeah, that you just said it, Dev. You drew a tag. Jeff El Jefe drew a tag.
So we got 2 tags and 2 spotters. Total of 4 guys in a truck going to northwest Colorado to hunt elk First Rifle.
So, but this will be the opportunity for both you guys to shoot your first elk.
Correct.
Which is a big deal.
Big deal.
I'm so
It's not an
fired up.
opportunity. It's going to happen. We're going out here with intent to kill.
We got the vibes right, yeah.
The vibes are right. The truck's loaded down. We're kind of like on our way. So I do want to touch quickly, like on some of the preparation, just to kind of build some momentum here. The reason that this hunt is a little bit different, I think, for everybody. Well, first off, we just said, both of the hunters have never shot an elk, so we're obviously trying to come home with an elk.
2 elk.
They're bull. We don't have cow tags, so they're both bull tags. First Rifle. The season's October 12th through the 16th, and we're going to be, pretty high. I think it's going to isn't our camp 10,000 something?
Yeah, it's a little over 10,000 feet.
That's up there.
So we'll be up high.
And we're in the bottom of a basin.
Yep.
So hunting the surrounding areas, we're going to be gaining elevation on top of that.
So the thing that I'm most excited about though is usually when we've done these types of out west trips, the wilderness type hunts, mule deer, elk, it's like Alex kind of mentioned, like we're putting everything in backpacks, hiking in on foot, and really just hunting off of our back, right?
Yep.
Drop camp, everything that you need is on your back, and it's a completely different type of hunt because you're spending legitimately 35 to 40% of your actual time surviving, right?
Yeah, well, just
Like
getting there.
getting water, like hiking in, like that, all the, like you add up all the hours in a day and it's like, okay, taking down camp, setting up camp, moving, like you're spending quality time and hours actually surviving, for lack of better words. So this hunt, on top of the fact that we just said, hey, it's the first time we're going to potentially shoot elk, it's like, I'm just excited to like see the experience on a drop camp, right?
Just different.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna go in on horses, which nobody here is a experienced horseman. Which
I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been on a horse.
Yeah, I've actually been kicked by a horse. Did you guys know that?
I actually
that
know that
explains the look
story.
on your face.
I really know that story.
I had a Shetland pony growing up named Charlie.
There's stories there.
Charlie.
Little Shetland pony named Charlie.
He didn't like anybody to ride him, so my dad would get on his back, and my dad was a 300-pound man, and he'd make that Shetland pony's back just bow.
He's going to learn today.
He'd sag that pony down.
But so like the horses is one thing, and then you get there. There's going to be a tent already set up for us, like a 4-wall tent,
Yeah.
wood stove.
Some cots.
They give you a latrine. They give you some, propane cook stove. So like, in terms of like, we're kind of like in luxury based on what we've done in the past. But like in terms of the hunting, they the outfitters give you some ideas of where you can go. They give you some coordinates of where elk have been killed in the past, good intersections, transition areas. But like we're not guided by any means on that front. So I just wanted to be really clear. This is something different than we've ever done. It's a drop camp.
Yeah.
And I think the stories coming out of this are going to be, I mean, we're going to give a lot better detail, but our understanding is kind of what we just explained. So, but I want to hear Jeff, Daddy, El Jefe. What do you like? Where is your mind at? Like you're the elder here. You've been around this world longer than anybody else in this car. What? You've never shot an elk. Is this something you've been like dreaming about or wanting to do, or where are we at?
I think this is a lifelong dream. Just to be out there, I think could be awesome. But to actually get an elk would be like big time bonus. But when we went before, just the hiking was brutal. Like you said, the
Straight uphill.
surviving
through the mud.
it's hard, yeah. So that's going to save a lot of, I think, our energy. Having a horse and all that stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, like our mindset last time, because I'd gone. No, that was our first time.
That was your first time ever going too, right?
Yeah.
Nate?
And like when we all went together was been 2017.
I think so.
Like quite a while ago, almost a decade, which is sad.
It's
actually.
before COVID, yeah.
But yeah, like we just getting 6.5 miles in was everything that we all had. Remember that?
That was a very hard first day. We all got there and we're like, wow.
Well,
like,
we got the
it couldn't have
camp
come
in the
sooner.
dark, and we had to set up camp in the dark. That was pretty hard.
Yeah, we'd never been there and didn't know anything about it. And there's definitely an element of that I love. I really do like that type 2 fun. But like just like you said, like just from being fresh, like we're gonna hopefully ride a horse and our legs, everybody, like we're gonna be able to hunt, spend quality time hunting. That's really exciting.
Absolutely.
And I didn't realize we have a latrine. That's a bonus too.
It depends if there's shit in it already. I don't want to smell somebody else's dookie.
That's
Well,
right.
You win some, you lose some.
But no, keep going on that thread though. So you said this is kind of a bonus
list.
if we bucket list. But it's your thing. Just the experience alone is.
When did this become a dream for you, Dad? Like, at what point in your life where you're like, man, this would be something like a bucket list thing. This would be so cool.
I think I never really even dreamed to do that, to go elk hunting. I don't think I've ever even thought about it until I think, Nate, you brought it up. I think that we're thinking about doing that. Almost like, wow. Because I remember watching videos on how big elk are. It's just like, compared to whitetail, what a trophy,
It seemed far-fetched.
Yeah.
Just from a distance aspect or a financial aspect or
Both,
just
yeah.
knowledge of it.
I feel like that's a common thing.
I actually
with
worked with guys at work that did it. So I guess I started dreaming about it.
Yeah.
Just never really thought it would happen, but
It just seems
Well,
like the Western hunting thing is something that people dream about that
Right.
feels far-fetched. Like it's like a different world. Like, oh, I wish I could go do that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, you can't.
I had many customers say that exact thing, like, "Oh, that's so cool. I wish I could go do that."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it just feels
it's just an
almost
exotic
unattainable
thing.
to most people. Yeah.
Yeah, the plunge of it's just the knowledge of it is you just got to do it.
Yeah.
I think Dad is part of it. So I remember growing up, we had conversations about like, this is one of the things you got to do to be in the man club is to get your man card.
uh-huh.
And I feel like one of the ultimate like man card moments would be I slayed an elk. You know what I'm saying? Like out west, I slayed an elk. Like there's not many more man club moments than that. I mean, that's is that part of it for you? Like this is cool, and like the average Joe doesn't do this. Is that part of it? Like we're doing something different. And unique.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking how, for you, Al, you when you're little, you wanted nothing to do with hunting,
No,
and when we did go,
I like the guns part.
yeah. Well,
I didn't like the sitting still and
but I
being
remember
cold part.
my dad, Grandpa Hicks, used to say that you would sit by him and you would hum, and he's like, Alex comes out and hunts, and all it is hum. Remember that?
Yeah.
He used to be so mad at me. Yeah,
I think of that,
I think
too.
he wanted to find out for himself because I remember, like, I'm sure all of you guys knew, like, oh, that Alex doesn't like going hunting right now, and I'm sure he was thinking, like, oh, let's have him come with me and sit in my stand, and we'll figure out once and for all, like, what's going on. And I think that's when he knew, like, oh, no wonder you're not having a good experience because you're way too loud. And he was very upset at me that day.
Yeah.
But it is, I think, for younger kids, like teenagers, to go out in the woods and sit quietly for hours, it's really
Climactic.
yeah, whatever the word is. Being a kid, you don't want to do that. It sounds boring. Being outside, it's fun being outside, but after a while, it gets boring.
Yeah.
Dev, where are you at? Like, you've hunted out for a handful of years now.
Yeah.
Kind of give your breakdown, like where your mind's at.
Well, yeah. So again, I would say, I grew up watching the Outdoor Channel and stuff with my grandpa, and for a long time, I think I had the same mentality that most people have, where it just feels like this unattainable thing. Like, oh, that'd be so cool to go do. I wish I could do that. And then I remember when your lady was still in school and you kind of dove into the Western hunting thing and you guys went out there for the first time. Like, that's the first thing that made it seem attainable because it was somebody close to me that went and did it. And I was like, oh, like you can just buy a tag and, in certain units and just go do it. Like, cool. And then I think on the heels of your first hunt with them, you kind of had I don't know, you wanted to go get revenge, I guess. You had your first taste and you were determined and
Yeah, learn from some things, wanted to see some more areas, but yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of volunteered as tribute to just go as sort of an investment for myself, go on my first Western hunt, not necessarily I wasn't going to pull a tag or anything because I didn't want to I wanted to cut my teeth and see and feel that before I made the financial commitment. And so that first time I went with you, is that a late season rifle hunt or what is the
Second rifle.
second rifle?
Which is basically November, beginning of November, during the whitetail rut.
Okay.
Which is why I haven't gone in a little while.
Yeah. So I went with you and kind of got my first taste of it. Again, doing the backpacking, DIY, hoofing it everywhere, freezing your rear end off, trying to stay alive, and but really kind of fell in love with it. And then
That was an epic hunt, by the way.
it was. We almost
Some of the
freaking
photos
tagged
we
out.
have from that, still, we were just looking through, like,
What day 6 we almost tagged out.
yeah.
Like had our opportunity.
Yep.
Anyway, so that was kind of my first my first taste of actually going and doing it, and then yeah, I've been back chasing them with archery by myself or with another group of guys, and then spent some time in Wyoming hunting mule deer with you, but we ended up having some real intimate encounters with elk. And so this is the second time I've had a tag in my pocket, but it feels like I've been hunting them and looking at them for, a handful of years now, 4 or 5, 6 years or something. I've been, in the field with elk, and I'm just excited to have the opportunity to hopefully finally harvest one. So
I can smell them, man. I can actually smell, like I can kind of picture where we're going to be. I hope there's aspens. It's going to be that time of year. At this elevation, it's going to be cold.
yeah.
I'm so optimistic. It's unbelievable.
Me too. This is a weird season though too, because from what I understand, like it can be single digits at night and it can be 70 during the day. Like it just depends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to make for weird hunting, for the animals and seeing what they're doing. But again, I think the other thing that has me excited about it, or had me nerding out leading up to this about the preparation, was, we kind of identify as archery hunters. We've got a company in the archery business, and this is the first time I've really kind of nerded out about a rifle hunt, or done like we did a mule deer hunt that was a rifle hunt, but in general, I do mostly archery hunting, and so just for the last 8-12 months, whatever it's been, preparing for this and shooting the gun, I built a nice rifle, like going through that whole thing, and getting excited about doing a rifle hunt has been a big, cool part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Can we jump into rifles? But I want to just say one thing before we go on.
Yeah.
This is really cool for me. Me specifically, I'm talking to myself here, or about my personal feelings here. It's kind of a dream to do this with you being the hunter dad and me not, because I don't know. I really would love to see you shoot a bull.
Well,
I
Nate,
would love to see you shoot a bull.
Here.
Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So I recall we were in Pennsylvania at that show, and I remember we were both talking about you and I getting tags, and then you kind of like a day or two later you were like, I might just go and have my dad be the other person that pulls a tag, and you told me you had a dream.
I did. I did. 100% did. I had a dream that like you died and didn't shoot a bull. Why would I have that dream? It's just such a weird.
You said I had a dream my dad died, and I never got the opportunity to watch him elk hunting, watch him go elk hunting, watch him be the shooter.
And I remember after like talking, with the guys at the show and talking about the because at that point before we'd had this conversation at that show with these outfitters, like the whole drop camp, I wasn't really interested in going on a guided elk hunt because it doesn't for me personally, it just kind of felt like, well, who's doing the hunting?
Yeah, I want to go do the hunting.
I want to be the guy, like that bull that I shot after 3 years of like actual hunting. That moment was one of the pinnacle moments I've ever had. So like,
yeah,
I don't know. I like to have the suffering involved, and then when you actually do it yourself, it feels more of like an accomplishment.
Yeah.
But I remember after like, okay, there's such a thing as a drop camp where they're not guiding you, but they're just providing you with the service of like taking you there, giving you all the tools you need to basically hunt.
Yeah.
But you're hunting.
Yeah.
That really appealed to me, and I was like, I remember thinking like,
that's
my dad can really cut his teeth on that. Like that, he'll love that part of it, because the piece that we struggled with last time was just getting there. Like it was everything all of us had to get into the zone, which we thought was the zone. In the area, like it made so much sense. But yeah, I did have a dream, and I'm like, dude, I'm backing out.
Yeah.
I'm backing out, and I asked you to hunt, and you're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, if I all expenses paid elk trip in October, you in?
No.
Yeah.
I'll even get the rifle. We'll get it dialed in. All you got to do is shoot the rifle a couple times, come out, pull the trigger.
Yeah, because
you be the guy. I'll do all of the work for you.
Well, you've
said.
done some work, and you've also invested in some gear.
Yo, yeah.
Well, let's talk about rifles and let's talk about gear, okay?
Yeah.
Because everybody likes that.
Heck yeah.
Who doesn't?
not to make this about me, but the rifle was one thing like I was actually really looking forward to buying. Because I had a 6.5 Creedmoor that I'd shot with. That's what I shot my first elk with. And a lot of people, this is a whole, you can find so much information online about 6.5 Creedmoors, that specific round in elk hunting.
Is it good for elk? Is it not? Yeah.
At 30 yards, 4 bullets I put into that bull, and not a single one of them like actually entered.
Passed through the other side of the hide.
Yeah, like it didn't get 2/3 of the way through. At 30 yards, point blank range.
Wow.
Boom, 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 4 in a row. So I remember thinking like next time I'm going way bigger.
Yeah.
So like I kind of had like when we'd said, hey, we're gonna go hunting. We had paid for the hunt. I was already excited about the gun, so I ended up buying a custom rifle, and I have to shout out my buddy Jared Walker with Flint Ridge Rifles. Jared is a dog. He knows so much about rifles and different loads and calibers.
Ballistics.
Just exactly. Just an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to rifles. And he put together a custom rifle for me, and that's what we've been practicing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to talk about how we've been practicing, where we've been doing it, kind of like your guys's, because you've been doing the shooting, like where you're at, what you think about the rifle. Devin, you start off.
Yeah. So, well, why don't you say what you went with in terms of cartridge and everything too?
Well, no, you bought the gun first.
Okay. So we ended up with the same cartridge, 7mm Rem mag. I did not build a custom rifle. I went with a Bergara. It's a Bergara HMR Wilderness. And then I put a nice Leopold scope on it, a VX5.
Fancy boy.
And
the Leopold scope.
I like it. It's a sweet rifle. It's the first like high-end hunting rifle I've ever bought.
Why have a nice rifle and not put a nice scope on it?
Right. Yeah.
But hold on, is the VX5, what is the 3x15?
3 to 16, 3 to 15 by 44. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And I wanted to do something that had lower end, low power, because from what I understand about, and having been out there with you, like when you're walking through the timber, you want to be able to take a close range shot if you have to. And so having a scope that starts at 5 or 6 or, higher power, like that's not going to do you very well in the timber necessarily. So I wanted to start with a scope that had a lower power, a low power. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I went with. And then the rifle you built is also a 7mm Rem mag.
Yep. Flint Ridge edition. I don't even know what the stock is on it, but it looks. I think it's like a Macmillan, maybe something like that.
And didn't you say it's a Remington 700 platform, right?
Correct. It's just exactly.
Yep.
But it's all custom. So like Jared,
Custom barrel, custom.
Yeah, he did it all. Like it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The coolest part about it is so the actual stock. I mean, just the look of it, right? Like the stock is black with like tan coyote color like swirls on it, and then the barrel and the action and everything is Cerakoted in that coyote tan, so it matches. It's beautiful. But yeah, 7mm Remington 700 platform, and then it has a
Burris.
What was it?
Is it a Burris?
No, I'm drawing a huge blank. Zeiss.
Zeiss.
It's a Zeiss 4 to 16 sweet scope.
And the trigger is like really.
It's at 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, you barely touch it. And it's really smooth though.
So we got the rifles right, and then we've been going out to Dev's uncle's place. Who in Michigan, it's like if you're listening and you're from like Nebraska or maybe Nevada or whatever, there's more opportunity, I would say, to shoot long range over 100 yards. But like typically the ranges, you're lucky if you can find a 200-yard range in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So we've been going to Dev's uncle's place, and it's we could have shot out to like 400 or 500 yards if we actually wanted to.
Yeah, I think the farthest I shot was 350 or something, 325, 350.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically it's a big hay field that feeds down into another clover field, and it's just you can shoot a long way with a an angled trajectory downward, and you can see a real long way. So we were able to do some longer range shooting than we'd be able to do at any of the public ranges around.
So
Which is good.
325. So like one golf driver tee shot for me then.
Yeah.
Is that word?
You hit bombs, Al?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes. Had to plug that this one time.
Wait, you shoot a 325 driver?
I can. I would say that's the average, but
What's your average? 250?
I would say I'm probably averaging 280 to 290, and then sometimes I'm over 300 kind of thing. But yeah,
That's
Wow.
pretty damn far.
just got to plug that. 20. Me and my golf partner played in a match play tournament, and so we're co-club champions for this year. So I just had to plug that quick. But continue.
You're going to get your moment to shine here at the end. You got a deer story. So stay tuned for that one if you're listening. But Hefe, so talk to me about shooting over there, because that's the first time I've ever shot a 7mm. Was that the biggest caliber you ever shot? Or we shot the 300 Win Mag together.
Is that bigger?
That's I don't know.
It seemed like about the same kind of kick.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was really. We were all wearing ear protection, but it was really loud.
Yeah, the muzzle brake on that is Maui Wowie. It's like it really, like the grass, the clover we were shooting in. When you shoot, all that gas exiting the end of the barrel, the brake on the end forces it to the sides. And like when you guys both shot, I mean, I was videotaping you a couple times, but like it just pushed the grass, and like the grass would fly up in the air, it would just explode. It was crazy.
I think a 300 Win Mag's slightly bigger.
Yeah.
But that also was a really lightweight mountain rifle that you had, and that thumped, didn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Kimber Subalpine 300 Win Mag, ultralight.
You didn't have a muzzle brake or anything on that, did you?
I had a suppressor,
Nice.
and it still thumped you.
But I remember I have a 30-06, and I would when we were shooting, I would shoot mine, and yours would be like twice as loud.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah.
That like, what do you call that? The supersonic
Yeah.
noise? Like it cracked your ear.
Yeah.
If you didn't have hearing protection.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it shot smooth. 2.5 pound trigger. Like
Yep.
it's tough. Like talk about when we were shooting those scopes, like depending on how you have it zoomed, like talk about that and how it's shaky and, realistically preparing for a shot that we're going to get. Cause that's really the whole thing is like preparing for the shots in real time and how you're actually going to probably get it in the woods or the wilderness versus on a bench.
Yeah, because we're shooting off the ground using the backpack kind of as a. But at first we're just kind of, looking at through the scope. I mean, it bounces all over. You can't hold it still. Well, you really need to have it on the ground. It really helped to steady it and keep it still. But that was kind of our first shots were at 100 yards, I think, and it was and you had the gun had been pre-zeroed by your
Jared.
buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were expecting it to be right on, and I was. At first, I was a little off. I was low, I think, and to the right.
Well, it was high because at 100, because you're zeroed at 200, so it was high.
Yeah, it was high. That's what it was. But I remember it wasn't quite right. And then we actually moved back to almost 200.
Yep. It was like 175 or something.
And we ended up, I think both of us ended up readjusting our scope a little bit, and all of a sudden we were on.
Right on. Yeah, the windage was off slightly, I think. But yeah, I actually added a bipod after that time that we shot just because I wanted to have
Something
a sturdier base than just shooting on a bag.
Yeah.
So I added a small bipod to the front of my rifle.
Nice.
Have you guys ever practiced shooting with a stick? With the
The
V-notch
shooting stick? I didn't for this trip, no. But I've shot all
It's
of them before.
super tough.
It's
like
really hard.
Especially a single stick too. If it's not a
Yeah.
tripod, like that's really hard.
Very tough,
Especially at long range.
Yeah, I did a few years ago when I was getting ready to go, and yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, realistically, we're going to get a shot within 150 yards, and hopefully, hopefully. But like, it seems like every opportunity I've had, it's like it's right now. You got to figure out a way to get your gun, sturdy, put
And
on
go.
a bag, something. When you watch on, yeah, I'm going to say television, but when YouTube, whatever, when you're watching, I've seen it's never happened to me where you see an elk way off. It's
And
grazing,
you're like setting up.
You're setting up, and you it seems like you're getting the windage, and like that's never happened for me.
Yeah.
Right.
It's usually like a quick thing.
Like, oh, there he is. Hurry.
Get settled. And Devin, you kind of alluded to it, but when we went together that second year, the opportunity we had on day 6 was at last light, and I was on him. I was steady, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get settled.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been really trying to harp on.
Right.
For you, Dad, it's like, I know, it's going to happen, and it's like you got to just get steady really quick. And I was really bummed that year we went, and I couldn't even,
Right.
I just didn't shoot because I couldn't get, like, the crosshairs were jumping everywhere, and I'm like,
Right.
I can't shoot. I have no idea what I'm aiming at.
We had, that was 2 bulls that were sparring down on a bench right beneath us. Like, we were just kind of slipping through, and we're like, holy shit, there's 2 elk right there.
Yeah.
They're right there. It was like 100 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last light, couldn't get settled, and never ended up pulling the trigger. But it's like, I don't want that to happen for anybody, because
Right.
it hurt me for a whole nother year. I had to sit there and think about it, and it just tore me up. I mean,
Yeah.
but anyway,
So if he gets an opportunity at 30 yards, kind of like you had the one time, really close, way closer than you're expecting, how low at 30 yards do you need to aim to account for the?
It's only an inch and a half high at 100. It's basically from, if you zero it at 200, this round specifically will be an inch and a half high at 100 and under.
Oh, okay.
So you can aim
Right
much
at
dead
it.
on. Yeah.
Okay. So there is no,
It's a pretty fast flat shooting round out till, it starts to drop off quicker after 200.
Yeah.
But from 200 and in, you can pretty much aim dead on.
Sweet. Okay.
that's a great question.
Thanks
though.
for catching me up.
So, anything else on the elk hunting? Any last thoughts before we I want to hear this story from Al, but
No, I'm just excited to see what it's going to be like. It's different than what we've done before, and if nothing else, like your dad said, it's going to be just fun to be out there and kind of get away from everything and do something different than we've done before.
I'm really excited to bring the aftermath to everybody, because we're gonna have so much to talk about. I can just feel it. If we do this right, we're gonna be up there for a handful of days, and it's just like I said, all the horses and the everything. There's just gonna be a lot to talk about, and hopefully some dead
elk.
bulls.
Yeah. that too.
Dead bulls.
All right, Al.
Sup?
Let's hear a bow hunting story, because you're on the board and nobody else is. And
That's true.
let's see.
That is true.
Today is the 9th.
Of October, and you're on the board.
That's right.
Something to talk about.
Yeah, it feels good.
And I want you to start. We're kind of where you started, because you said, "Yeah, me and my buddy, or my brother-in-law, we're golf champions." Start there, because usually every year that golf tournament is like
You're laser focused until that.
It's it's one of those things that my 2 favorite hobbies are hunting and golf. Probably in the reverse order. Sorry, guys. Love hunting, but golf is my true love. And I've been really wanting to be club champions in this tournament for, I don't know, we were talking about it. I think it's been about 6 years now that we've been trying to win this thing. And really interesting, because this was the year that I probably had the most distraction outside of like golf, like with my job kind of ramping up, in addition to I'm a new father. And so of all the years that should have finally happened, it shouldn't have been this year.
That's how it works.
And I still played like a lot of golf, don't get me wrong. I probably played 2 days a week, which is a lot for a lot of people. But for me, like, I used to play a year ago, I was playing probably 5 times a week.
Wow.
So I'm like, man, I'm playing less than half as much, and there's just no way it happens this year. But of course, that's, like you said, that's when it happens. So I just feel really blessed, coming into this hunt, because things are going well with
You're flying
in life.
high.
Things are going well in life. The job's going well, and I'm celebrating an anniversary with my wife here shortly after we get back. And we have a newborn, 3-month-old now, and she's beautiful and healthy, and we're club champions against all the odds and all that stuff. And so
Why not add a cherry on the top?
So
That's
why
what
not
I'm saying.
add a couple of elk and some other stuff, right? Flying high right now. So, but yeah, this tournament every year is either the first. It's usually the last weekend of September or the first week of October, which obviously not great for hunting. So I'm usually still practicing with my putter and my wedges instead of my bow come that time of year. I try to do both, but doesn't always happen. So anyways, we're coming out of golf season. Like basically as soon as that tournament's over, I'm all hunting mode. And being a new father, like I don't have a ton of time. So I haven't even really shot my bow much. And I had an issue with my sight where it must have rattled loose. Like one of the screws came loose on my sight.
The actual sight.
Yeah. And I opened up my case to go practice shoot a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that the sight was like loose and like shaking around. I'm like, what the heck? So now it's no longer trustable. I have to re-sight it in. I get it reattached, and I hadn't even had time to shoot it. We had done a logging project on a much smaller scale than what Nate did, where we removed about 30 trees, and most of them were walnuts, and my yard's all torn up, and I had this big project, like have to get the grass seeded in the yard before we go on this hunting trip out west, because my wife was like, that's just how it has to be, so that's what happened. And so I finally get that grass seed planted and all the hay spread out and all that stuff on a Saturday, which was the 5th, I believe. And I was like, honey, I'm not going to have many opportunities done here in Michigan. I know that I'm going out west. And she's like, you're going to leave for a week and a half. There's no way you're hunting today. And I'm like, but I worked so hard and I planted all the grass. And she was like, fine, go ahead and hunt the evening, right? So expectations are really low because I literally pull out my bow and I'm like, I haven't sighted it in yet. So I shoot 2 shots. It's off a little bit. I make a couple adjustments, take 2 more shots. I'm like, hey, close enough. Here we go. Like, not good. Like, not really.
Yeah.
Not what I hoped that my shooting practice would be. And so I go out hunting, and I'm like, hey, it's more of just an excuse to
Wait,
get
hold
out
on.
there.
You kind of breezed by something there. Like,
Yeah.
Your wife?
My wife is she's a reluctant supporter of my hunting, and so it took a lot for her to allow me to do a lot of things. And I also have to give her a shout out for our anniversary. She was trying to do it sneaky and surprising, but then she kind of told me about it.
Your wife's a saint, Al.
She is a saint, and she
You're
calls up
leaving
Nate.
town for however long you've been golfing.
An
You got a
absolute-
3-month-old, and she says,
Go hunting.
"Go hunting,
hunting.
honey."
Absolute saint, absolute
So,
saint.
Abby, if you're
And
listening, you're the best.
100%. And in addition to that, I have to give her a shout out for anniversary gift. She got a hold of Nate and was like, we need to get Alex some good gear. So we got some First Light jacket.
Oh,
and
we
pants, and
we are all gonna look tight.
Yeah.
we are.
I mean,
If
we're gonna look the part.
If we don't kill elk, it ain't because we don't look good.
No more Walmart clearance rack special for me. We got it figured out.
We are all going to look the part.
Yeah.
The photos are gonna be spicy, dog.
We
Like
should sell them to First Light.
we
That's
should.
right. So, anyways, thank you, honey, for that. Very nice. And so, anyways, she's like, "Yeah, go do it. I know you want to do it." So I go out for the evening hunt, and I'm just thinking, I'm not going to see anything, and it's just good to be out there, and I won't have many more opportunities to hunt.
This is the one opportunity that I'm gonna have, honey.
Yeah, that's exactly the pitch.
At the
Yeah.
beginning of October.
Same thing on November 5th.
Yeah.
Honey, this is the only
opportunity.
Don't tell her my secrets.
This is the rut. Like, this is only one
Yeah.
time a year.
I'll never get
Yeah,
another October 5th early season opportunity, honey. Come on. I think I said, this is the only time I'll get to go before the elk hunt. She's like, just go. I know you want to go. So thank you, honey. You're a saint. And so I barely have my bow dialed in. I don't even really fully know if it is dialed in. And I go out and I'm like, whatever, we're going to make this thing happen. And I've been doing a food plot for about 3 years, and I set up a muddy quad pod. Like I built it in the yard with my dad, and we used my father-in-law's trailer a couple seasons ago. And like after it was assembled in the yard, like drove it out, put it in place, made a
So
food
hold
plot
on,
next
explain
to
that
it.
though. So this is
A property you have permission on, right?
Yeah, this is the golf course property. So they have a tiny little sliver of 10 acres that is wooded and just off the side of the golf course. So you can literally see through the tree line about 200 yards over, and you can see the golf course.
This detail is the best to me, like
from my food
because
plot
everybody
stand.
sees deer on a golf course.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't even golf, and I just associate
There's deer.
There's got to be tame deer running around, but that's not the case.
I thought it was going to be like that, and it's
isn't.
been a challenge. I haven't actually harvested one up until now, which is why it's a big deal to me from the golf course. So I've been hunting there for 3 years or so, and I've got this food plot and this muddy quad pod, which is basically like this metal stand that's raised up off the ground with a big platform, and it's got like a built-in chair and then like a shroud over top of it with shooting windows. And it overlooks my food plot.
Shroud. I like that word.
Yeah, you like
it's a
that?
shroud. Can you
And-
define shroud?
A covering.
It's like a dirt bike shroud, buddy.
Yeah,
No, it's great.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like a canvas cover, but you
Yeah.
said a shroud, and I
yeah.
I like
Are you shocked that your brother has a little bit of grammar?
no, I'm just
No?
I really liked it.
He knows his words a little bit. Okay, so there's lots of woods back there, but it's all neighboring properties, and so I kind of have this little corner sliver right next to the golf course, and haven't been able to get the job done. There was one time.
A detail
Go ahead.
you're leaving out that this tree stand is less than 100 yards from the green where you proposed to your wife.
Oh yeah, it's a special
it's
corner
a special corner, yeah.
for sure. It's my corner,
Dang.
and
That's sweet.
so I've been really wanting to get the job done. I had an opportunity the very first year I hunted there, and it was very lucky. It was like a rutting buck that came out of nowhere straight up to my stand, but it was straight below me.
Huge buck, right?
Huge buck, and I had the worst buck fever of my life, and
And you had a trad bow.
when I first started hunting, I had a trad bow, and I was pretty dialed at that time shooting it. Right now, I'm pretty rough with it, but and I hit it, but it wasn't lethal. I shouldered it, and it was a terrible angle, and I knew it, but I'm like, this is a huge buck. I can't risk not getting a shot at it, and dumb young hunter thing, and
Comes within 5 yards.
it came I could have jumped down on top of it. It was that close, and
Golly.
so I hit it, but it wasn't lethal, and I felt like an idiot.
I don't think you should feel like an idiot.
Both because of oh no, I didn't get it, but also because I'm and then I also hurt this deer. It lived, but I hurt this deer for no reason because that was a bad shot. But
Yeah, you shouldered it with a trad bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's straight to the point. It's fine.
it would have been epic though. But anyway, so I had that opportunity, and then there was a whole year that gone by where I saw some, but didn't get really a good shot. Then the next year, which was last year, so I guess it's been the fourth season now. I decided to switch to a compound bow, and I had an opportunity out of the quad pod to shoot one that was on the food plot, and it was everything lined up perfectly. And I got a little adrenaline rush, and I literally pulled the string off the bow. I pulled it I started as a recurve shooter, and sometimes I would kind of flow into the shot, kind of pull my trigger, my right arm back as I released. And for some reason, when it came down to, okay, it's go time with this compound bow, my instincts from practice shooting the recurve came back, and I kind of pulled it as I released, and I literally yanked it right off the track. And it string slapped the crap out of my leg too. I'm freaking there's a hole in my pants, and it's bleeding. I'm like, what the hell did I do?
I'd never heard this story.
And I had it all on. I still have the footage on the Mag Pro.
This was a buck?
This was a doe. But
Nice.
again, I've never shot a deer at this golf course. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get on the board. I'm gonna get my first golf course deer.
Wait. When did that happen?
This was last year
With the PSE bow that I sold you.
with the compound bow, with the Mag Pro rolling.
You ripped the string right off of it with
I
your
pulled it
own
off
two
the
hands.
track. Yeah.
Plus, it was through the little opening in his
Yep.
muddy.
I feel like your limb might have hit something.
That's what I'm
and
thinking,
then
too.
the string jumped off.
Could have been that too. But anyways, it didn't work out very well. I would like to take the shroud off the quad pod and just get a skirt instead, so I could shoot over it easier. But anyways, you can see the arrow in the video. It hits whatever it hit to take the string off, and it just dies. So it's going right at it, and it dips right underneath the belly. And
your cam or your
Limb.
either when you release, because it moves.
Yeah.
It probably hit the
tent.
railing.
And just blew off. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to go get that repaired and all that stuff, and I was like, really.
Did it bend anything or break any of the limbs or
It
anything?
didn't break anything except for my own leg, but so that was like a bad scenario.
My own leg.
Yeah, it didn't break it, but it cut me.
That's wild.
And so I'm rewatching that footage, and it dips underneath the belly, and I'm like, man, that would have been my first deer at the golf course, man. And I had to go get it, repaired and all that stuff, and so it took me out of commission for a little bit. And so then obviously I had some success at the Eaton Rapids spot later on, but up until that point, it was a low point in my in my season. But anyway, so fast forward to this year, one of my biggest goals last year was I want to get a bow kill, period. And I was able to do that, which was awesome. And this year I was like, I want to get a golf course bow kill, like for the first time. I don't care what it is. And so anyway, so now we set the stage for all that. And my wife was gracious enough to let me go. And I'm like, honey, it's the only time I'll get to go before the elk hunt. Oh, man. So I'm out there, and I go to my quad pod, and I get in great, super quiet. Everything was perfect. I got in super early, so I was in at like 4. And last
evening hunt.
So yeah, sunset's at 7:15. So last shot 7:45. I'm in at 4, so everything worked out really well. And I get to the quad pod, and I climb up the ladder, and I'm just about to sit down in my chair in there, and I notice there's a wasp on like the other chair. There's 2 chairs in there, and I'm like, that's weird. And then I notice another wasp, and oh my God, they're everywhere in there. And I'm like, well, so I back right back down out of there. I'm like, hell no. So I got to go back and do battle. Maybe the frost will kill them off. Who knows? But as of that moment, I was like, my whole hunt's ruined. I'm going home. Might as well, because I have one other stand on the property, and I'm like, either I'm going down to the other stand or I'm just going home. And so I say, okay, I'm going to travel all the way down to the other end of the property and try to get into that one quiet. So I'm like, gosh, like this couldn't have gone any worse. So I make it all the way down, and I think I make it. I'm on the ladder of the other stand, and I kick one up, and it was like within shooting distance, but it was bedded down, and I couldn't see it. So I'm like almost all the way up the ladder, and it spooks. I'm like this could not go any worse. Like the stupid wasps in the other stand, and now I'm in the other one, and like whatever. I guess I'll just enjoy my time and sit here and with my thoughts. And another one comes by the same exact spot where that one was, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and that one didn't. It was walking away from me and didn't really have a shot at it. It was kind of small anyways, so I was like, okay, it's fine. But I saw 2 so far. This is, it could be worse. And then I sit 4 hours and nothing happens at all. Just so fast forward to 7:10 basically.
And it gets dark at 7:45.
Yeah, sunset 7:15, last shot 7:45. So it's starting to get dark, and it was like right after 7 is when the deer that I ended up harvesting comes out. And there's another one close behind it, and they come out directly behind me. So I'm like, like I could barely see them, and I'm trying to move really slowly and get my head cranked around to look directly behind where I'm sitting, but I can barely see them. But I see there's deer. I can see they're not antlered. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll see if they come in front of me, basically. Well, they come around the right side of the tree, which is obviously the hardest place to shoot for a righty.
Yep, your weak side.
And I'm like, so it comes right out. And my heart's starting to pound a little bit. It's not buck fever, but I'm like, you know what? This is kind of getting me going a little bit. Like, if it gives me a shot, I'm going to do this. And it circles all the way around from the right, and the other one stays directly behind me. So now I'm like, well, I got one on both sides. I can't just focus in on the one and forget the other one. The other one will spook, and the whole thing will get ruined. So I'm trying to be conscious of where they're both at. So the other one comes around, and there's this perfect clearing that's directly in front of me. So it's it's not an over my left shoulder shot. It's directly in front of me from seated. So and there's this big grouping of trees that it has to kind of clear before I can get a clear shot at it. So it's kind of circling around to my right, and it's coming up on this clearing, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to happen. So as it's taking its last couple of steps out from these trees, I draw back, and I get my phone, my camera going, and
on the Mag Pro.
Mag Pro.
A lot of people ask me this, by the way, of isn't it hard to get used to oh no, I got to remember to do my camera? And I said, well, there's 2 ways to do it. One is you just practice doing it quickly and quietly, which isn't that difficult. But the other thing that I do sometimes too is I just start it when I know the deer's around.
Yeah.
I just start the video.
That's
Put
a
it
hot
on there.
tip.
And I have a really long video, but then you can just cut it down to the shot like we ended up doing later. But
That's an Al Hicks hot take right there.
so I had this camera probably running for 2 or 3 minutes before
The shot.
this
happened.
part happens.
Yeah.
So it comes out, and I draw, and my bow's a nice bow, but it somehow heard like the little noise the cam makes when it's
Yeah.
at full draw.
Yep.
And it like looks right at me, and I'm like, oh crap! And it isn't presenting me a shot yet. It has to come one more step, and we get into a stare off for probably 30 seconds,
And
and
you're
then
up.
it backs out the other way it came. Like, dang it!
And you're at full draw.
I'm at full draw. So I let down after it walks back the other way.
But it doesn't spook hard.
It doesn't spook hard. It backs up back to the right and comes back to where it started. So it goes back to my right side, and the other one's still behind me. And I'm like, darn it. Then it does a wider loop and goes back down my right side, past where it was originally, and then farther out, back around the left. So it's still going to come in front of me, but now it's not in the spot where I wanted it to be. Basically, it's a lot farther, and it's a more difficult shot through. The shooting lane isn't as clear. So I wasn't going to shoot it, but it came around, and now it's coming all the way around to my left side, but it's farther out. And so it finally gives me a shot. It comes into about 18, 20 yards straight over my left shoulder, a lot easier of a shot, but the shooting lane's not super clear.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives me a shot this time. And I'm cognizant of, I've had a deflection last year in Eaton Rapids off of a tree limb. And so now I'm like, I got to like focus on that now too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. There's these limbs, but I think I got a window right here. And it gives me a shot. And as I'm like aiming, I think it was kind of sort of on alert.
Yeah.
Because it had kind of saw me before, but it didn't hard spook. So as soon as I loose the arrow, it kind of like twists towards me and like quarters to really hard. And
Yeah, kind of like rears up to turn and pivot and run away.
and it for whatever reason, instead of running straight ahead, it completely turned around.
She turned into your arrow.
So it turns into my arrow, and I could see my lighted knock like sticking out of the deer as it's running away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it takes me back to that big buck that I shouldered, because the same
Yeah.
thing happened where it kind of stayed in, but then eventually it brushed off on a tree and the arrow fell out, but I could see the knock, bouncing as it's running.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I shouldered it. Like I didn't get it. And, but then I was thinking about it, and I was watching the video footage more, and I was sending you guys all the footage. And the more that I was looking at it, and the more you guys were kind of giving me your input, I'm like, okay, so yeah, it didn't pass through, but I don't think it shouldered it. And as the deer was turning into the arrow, I'm like, that might have been a straight through the chest shot.
Yeah.
And so that's what my presumption was from the footage, was this is a straight through the chest shot. That's a dead deer. That's what.
Well, and again, not this is a plug, but you called and you're like, hey, I just shot, like you sent pictures of blood, and we're like, send the footage. Like, send the footage right now.
Yeah.
Right now. Alec crops the footage, sends it over. We're sitting there watching it. We're all speculating dead deer.
Yeah.
Going after it. It's a subtle detail what you just said, but it's like the product. It is like,
Oh, it's exactly.
Yeah,
And
because
to me, it's so
without it-
second nature now,
Dude,
But, yeah.
without it, it'd be like, yeah, I hit one. I saw the arrow sticking out of it while she was running away. I'm pretty sure I shouldered her.
Yep.
And we might have been
that is
like,
the pitch. That is the what's the word I'm looking for?
Also,
The take home, like that of the product. That's what it does.
100%.
Yeah.
And I
That's
have to
the
give
power.
props to the product, because this particular situation, I would have probably waited a long time, and it was a really hot day. So I was hunting in like a t-shirt and like a really light set of sweats. Like it was so hot. It was like in the 70, it was 75 when I first started sitting.
yeah.
And
Dad fell asleep on you.
yeah, well, that's okay, Dad. Hey, you still there, bud? There he is. There he is. That's okay. He's like, I'm gonna listen to the podcast anyways. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your story sucks so much it put our dad to sleep.
I know. I'm trying to get through it. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I'll just rest my eyes.
I guess leave a comment wherever you're listening this if you like all the details, or if you're like, dude, shut up and get to the point.
No, this is great. This is great for me. Keep going.
And so yeah, so thanks to the product, it was like the coldest it got that night was 60 degrees. Like it was a hot night, so that deer would have spoiled. So I needed to make a game time decision of like, are we going in to get this or are we waiting?
Interesting, yeah.
Because it would have been, I would have found it, but it wouldn't have been
Any
good
good
anymore. So we think it's straight through the chest. I see it on the video I can see the lighted knock. But after zooming in, like you can see like it's not like a shoulder shot where like most of the arrow is still visible. It was like in there, and you
Yeah.
could see like maybe
a good chunk of it.
a 6-inch, maybe 8-inch section of the arrow with the lighted knock sticking out. So it was in there. And the last detail is I hear it runs off. I lose sight of it. I get the direction that it's going, and I confirmed that for the tracking part on the footage. But I hear a huge crash, like as it falls down. I'm like, that's probably a good sign. Like I heard a huge noise, and then no movement after that. So I had to play it really cool because there's still that other deer in the area behind me that didn't spook off, and then another 3 deer come out behind it, like in the next 15 to 30 minutes.
So you could have put another one in if you wanted.
So I could have, yeah. And I was like, well, number one, I want to make sure I find this one first before I start, going
Slinging arrows.
total Rambo style on these deer. But, and so I just like let them all kind of pass through, and they were in my area for probably a good 20 minutes. But the whole time I'm not even paying attention. I'm just trying to be quiet and watching the footage, like trying to figure it out.
And at like this point, it's like
It's pitch black at this point.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
7:45. So I finally, they might have still been around, but I was like, I hadn't seen any of them in a few minutes, and I'm starting to lose light. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get down and get out of the woods and make a plan. So,
so for anybody listening, so this little 10-acre chunk that's touching the side of the golf course that Alex is hunting in, he's hunting pretty dang close to the road, and the other side of the road is big ag. And you're telling me there's watermelon,
there's
beans,
watermelon,
corn?
beans, and corn all across the road. And
Yeah.
So,
So
they
it's
use
like-
they
it's
use
like
this little.
It's like a buffet.
It's a travel path, and that's where I put. So my food plot, I'm trying to create a food source where they'll come to my food plot, and there's nothing else in that general area, but it's right off of the main travel trail that goes from where they bed, which is not on Eric's property, but it goes back towards the road, and then over the road is a bunch more food. And so I have the other stand.
perfect. Yeah.
You're staging them up. You're staging them up before they go out for dinner after dark.
Yeah, so basically these 5 were on a platter coming down the travel path, and that's right where my other stand is also on that travel path, but a lot farther down. And so I'm probably a couple 300-400 yards from the road, and I'm like 200-300 yards from the golf course, and 400 or 500 yards from the boundary edge. So I'm like right on this little long skinny area. So anyways, they come through. It works out well. I get out of the woods, get some gear, and my wife and father-in-law, brother-in-law, and his new wife all are not experienced with deer hunting, and I was pretty confident.
This is the best part of the story.
Yeah, I was pretty confident at this point that it was a dead deer. So I was like, normally if it was like any doubt, I'd be like, we got to be super quiet, and I don't want to take a whole village of people in there. But I was pretty sure it was dead, so I was like, sure, the more the merrier, come on out. And so they helped me out and videotaped the whole thing. It was pretty cool. So we go and track it, and it made it farther than I thought, but it was a dead deer. And I found the first blood, and the footage told me it headed off on this direction, so I followed that direction and almost exactly lined up with the blood trail. It kind of made a little bit of a weird turn into like this like really dense area. So the last little bit, I still had to crawl underneath of some stuff and like drag it out of some pretty dense stuff. But a couple 100 yards later, I dragged it out into the clearing, and that was history. So the first golf course deer is down and on the books.
She died on the piece you have permission to hunt.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, sweet.
Basically did like a crescent moon, like it ran like it was going to go towards the other neighbor's house, and then it crescent, angled back into the property, and then it came to rest probably 100 yards to 200 yards away from where I shot it.
And then you the coolest part of this is that you use the cooler on the golf course.
Yeah. So we got the knife, and we gutted it in the field. So now I've got the part we're keeping, and it's hot. Like normally I would hang it up, but it's going to be hot that night, and so it's a good thing that we went in right away and found it. And I couldn't take it to a processor because they all closed at 9, and it was like by the time that we had everything ready to go, it was like 10. And I was like, hey, so if I get like a tarp so nothing gets like nasty, they have like a walk-in like cooler where they put like their, I'm not sure if he wants this out there for like
So they put their beer
kitchen
and stuff.
standards. But yeah, it's their beer cooler. And it's walk-in. I'm like, hey, can we like get a cart, put a tarp on top of it, and then hoist this deer up on the cart and then just push it into the cooler
Yeah, that's
overnight?
normal.
And he was like,
That's totally normal.
he was like, yeah, that's no problem. And so I came back, the next day and loaded it up, took it to the processor, and it worked out perfectly. So it was definitely, like when they say it takes a village, it's true. And so first golf course deer, and they were really, helpful and excited to be a part of it, and it made it, a lot easier. And
So
it wasn't a trophy buck by any means, but to me, it's like, hey, like to go back to, hey, I had all these goals for this year, and I have this is my second year of marriage, and I got a newborn baby, and I just won the golf championship, and my goal for hunting was I want to get one at the golf course, and I'm just like, could life get any better right now? So it's just a good time to be alive, and
you're on the board and you got reps in. So like this fall, when you've got that opportunity with a big buck in front of you, like you've already done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's really, really worth something. That's overlooked.
Yeah.
Like you got reps in, and that's a big deal.
So
what is like Eric and Nick, like, does that get them interested in wanting to bow hunt at all?
I guess neither one of them have ever been hunting, or at least have never harvested. Eric may have gone hunting in the past, but I'm not sure he's ever harvested a deer.
That's my favorite part, though. Like,
And they were both really interested, but obviously, everybody listening to this is like, well, no duh, man. Yeah, the field dressing part, it can get pretty disgusting, but that's just part of the game. I've done it, 7-8 times now, which is not that many times to a lot of people, but to me, like, hey, we're almost to double digits, like we're getting up there. And it's still like not comfortable, it's still not something I love, but I also believe that, I don't just hunt for the trophy, obviously. Like, I hunt because I like the meat, and I don't believe in, it's disrespecting the animal to me if you don't harvest it and, like, cherish it kind of thing. And so I'm like, yeah, it's the rite of passage of being a man to me, of like, yeah, you don't like it and it sucks and it's kind of gross, but, like, you shouldn't go hunting if you're not prepared to do that part. And so I think that's the part that gets them hung up is, wow, that looks really gross, and I'm not sure that I can do that.
I think it's awesome that you had them come along.
But they were very interested in the whole process, and maybe it sparked something, especially in Nick. I mean, he's a young guy. He's got lots of years ahead of him, and maybe seeing that is something that goes, maybe I should try that.
Dude, I hope he does. That's so cool. There's nothing cooler. I mean, I haven't mentored a ton of people, but like Dev, even your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Like, just it's kind of fulfilling,
It was fun to take him out last year, yeah.
And hopefully it does. It makes another hunter, and they buy a bow, and they contribute to the industry, and
Absolutely.
the whole thing. Because we need to have that.
We need
got to have it.
Well, I always say, if you don't shoot them, they're going to hit your car. And I had a real bad string of that a few years ago. So yeah, we need more hunters for sure. And we need some, I don't know if it's a bad time to segue into, maybe this is a future podcast, but I listened to your guys' podcast on like the state of Michigan and trying to get some different laws passed to change some of the, maybe like, adding a point restriction or going to a 1 buck state, all that kind of stuff. Like, I guess that just feeds into the same idea. We need young hunters, and we need the young hunters
to be a part of what's happening.
Yeah, we need some people that want some change, because I feel like, don't get me wrong, like the state of Michigan, hunting the state of Michigan is an amazing thing, and we've been doing it our whole lives, and it's a good opportunity. Obviously, we're having 2 bucks and all that stuff. Like, there's not a lot of states that do that, but we could just do so much better and like have some massive trophies. It wouldn't be difficult to do, and I think younger hunters want that kind of stuff, and I think that's the change we need.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Dev?
I love it. We need young people that want to be involved. That's what we need.
I think what you said is really true, and I think it is an age thing, and I think it is getting younger people involved, but I do think that I've said this so many times, but big bucks sell.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
and we got to shoot does. Al, you did a great service to the state of Michigan. They thank you for that. They've been pushing for more doe harvest, so that's great. But I do think that in terms of regulation, we don't have to go into it. But yeah, the more people that are younger and getting involved and understanding the process and have some feedback and say that's really what it is that we want. So informed education and feedback. But
Absolutely.
Al, congrats, dude. I would have.
Plus, the funniest part was watching Abby hold the camera when you're gutting the deer out.
I do have to say, what a woman. I think she's thoroughly disgusted by the whole thing, but I did convince her to hold one of the legs open while I was gutting it, just to see if she'd even do it.
That's
and she
beautiful.
did it, man.
Honey,
That's freaking beautiful.
see this haunch here? You grab that and don't let go.
You grabbed that. She did
This
too.
haunch.
No, that's awesome. I'm proud of you. I love that you're getting people around the sport of bow hunting that normally wouldn't. Like, that's a big deal. It's a small detail, but it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'll be a shotgun hunter for life, but the development of starting to bow hunt, like, it's just so different. Like, it's in a lot of ways so much more fun. Like,
I love how serious you've taken it. Like you just grabbed right a hold of it and you're just doing it.
The best part is
awesome.
last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I got a photo of a food plot. You're like, just planting my food plot, and I'm like, you did? I haven't even done mine. Like, you did that?
yeah.
But yeah, you got a setup. Eric there has got you taken care of. He's got a walk-in cooler. He's got equipment.
I will
It's just a hunting
say,
camp all of a sudden. It ain't a golf course.
that's the real takeaway here is get you a father-in-law or some other close relative that has all of the equipment, like a tractor and a tiller.
Bush hog, tiller,
and- yeah,
seed
just-
spreader.
So it's super easy. All you got to do is find somebody that has a golf course or something similar that has all of the equipment you will
Tools.
ever need, plus some.
Seriously.
And
Seriously.
then allows you to.
Everything.
He even actually bush hogged it for me this year because he knew that I was
He
going to
even
come
did it
plant
for
it.
ya.
I came out, was like, "Hey,
Shit.
can I borrow your cutter?" And he was like, "I already did it for you, dude." And I'm like, "What?" And then,
You mind trimming those lanes for me?
yeah, get in there.
pole saw up in there?
He's like, "Sure do."
Does
So
he have a
that's-
pole saw? He's got
He's
to.
got everything, dude.
Yeah.
Well, because he has everything that you would need to maintain,
Groom a golf course.
trees
A
and
golf
groom a
course.
golf course.
Literally, that
And,
coincides perfectly.
And so,
Seriously.
I mean, I can't understate that, and I tell him every time every time it happens, I'm like, dude, like, thank you so much for letting me, be out here and use your equipment and
Marrying your daughter and
your daughter. And I did give him a grandkid, so I think that's what he said to me, actually, word for word.
That's your
Was, well,
payment.
yeah, you already paid me back. We're good. So, but
It's a good deal.
he's an awesome guy. Thank you, Eric. Shout out to you for all of the help over the years.
You should have cut the heart out and offered them a bite right there, fresh heart.
Oh, I had it in my hand, and I was scaring them away with it. The closer I came, the more they all ran. But
Yeah. Beautiful.
What do you think, Dad? Any last words? This is the last thing. The next podcast is going to be.
A
I might
harvest
even.
report.
I might even send this
To Travis.
to Trav and have him put this up so that like, we're keyed up.
Yeah.
The people are going to be at
They're
home.
all on the edge of their seat.
Like,
Just
what,
Absolutely.
what did those boys kill? Did they see anything? Anything to say to those people, Dad?
Well, our next podcast is going to be how we shot the 8x8.
8x8.
oh, really?
Hell yeah.
Hey, dream big, man.
8x8.
We did come out here to
I like that.
leave it short.
To be very clear, if I see a legal bull, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
If he's got 4 on one side, he's done.
If he's got 5 inches coming off his head, he's.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's actually. It's got to have either
It's 4 on one side or
a 5-inch brow tine.
yeah.
Well, regardless
Something
of
like that.
if
I
it's
don't know,
a
I'll look at it.
We need
8x8
to look
or
that
a
up.
4x4.
I already looked it up. It's got to have 4 on one side, or there was some sort of inch requirement, like you said.
But yeah, regardless of 4x4 or 8x8 or whatever, like, massive accomplishment to bag an elk. So I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to happen. We got 15 hours and 43 minutes, 1,068 miles, and a whole lot of asphalt we got to cover. So,
Must have at least 4 points on one antler. Have a brow tine that is at least 5 inches long.
isn't that what I said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even look up the regulations and I knew that. How did I know that?
Because you've been chasing elk a little while.
No. I don't remember very much, so when I do remember something, I gotta, flex
Can't
it.
even remember his own wife's birthday, but he remembered that.
That's not true at all.
Kidding. We love you, Lex.
Okay, everybody, catch you on the fly, and see you in the next one.
See ya.